you can expect, I would say, at least six figures, like low six-figure range. I hope that's a good. I hope
Tell
that's
me
a
how much
good
money you
range.
make. Nah, I'm joking with you. Um, no, that's
I
a
would say
good.
no more than 140. And so when I started, I was like, "Are y'all for real? Like, really?" Like, I couldn't believe it really because you just don't see it. Solving problems as a software engineer is just, it's really exciting for me. And so I tell people all the time, like, don't get in it just for the money because you can get burnt out really quick. At least be interested in it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Custom Journeys podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Baines. If this is your first time tuning in, this show is all about spotlighting diverse STEM professionals and then also helping you all find your own way in your STEM career, whether that's going the 9 to 5 STEM career route, such as a software engineer at Amazon, like our current guest we're going to be interviewing shortly, or if you want to be a tech entrepreneur. Whatever the case is, this channel and this podcast is dedicated to helping you all find your way. I'm extremely excited to be joined today by Brisan Brown. She was formerly a software engineering apprentice at Amazon, but she has recently been converted to a full-fledged software engineer at Amazon. So congratulations to her. Very excited to kind of learn her journey, how she got into tech, and provide you all with some value and some insight. So Brisan, good afternoon. How you doing today?
Good afternoon. I'm good. I'm really, really good. I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Cool. And congratulations again on the recent conversion. I know we've been trying to figure out the timing of the podcast. We definitely wanted to make sure you were going to convert before we did an interview and everything like that to kind of put you at ease. But congratulations
Yeah.
again on it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Cool. So, hey, let's
Okay.
jump in. As I kind of mentioned in the introduction, you were formerly a software engineering apprentice. You went through the OnRamp program where OnRamp had a partnership with Amazon. Can you kind of tell us what specific projects, I guess, were you working on? And when I say specific,
Yeah.
not to a T, I don't want you giving away proprietary
Yeah.
information, but like in a
Yeah.
general thing.
Um, so yeah, one of a project that I was really interested in, and it's really the main project that I worked on as an apprentice, was creating like a dashboard for, let's say, for user to submit like tickets, right, or like a dispute. And so that was really exciting because I got to do both the front end and the back end for that project, right? And I worked with my peers on it, so I wasn't doing a project on my own. I know sometimes as an apprentice, you can work on a project by yourself or you're working on a project within a team, right? And so I had the ability to communicate and collaborate with my team and different teams as well. And so, I was able to work on the back end APIs. And then on the front end, I was like building the dashboard and putting those two together to get that full result. It was exciting. Like the front end for me is like instant gratification. Like when you make a change, you see everything come out right away. And you're like, okay, I know where I messed up. I know where to go back. And then on the back end, it's like you have to do so many different steps before you could see like, oh no, I did that wrong. So it was like I think leveled for me, um, both the back end and the front end. It was exciting. I really loved working on that. I'm on a new team now, so I'm no longer working on that project, but it was exciting. As you can see, I'm still excited about it because it was fun. Yeah.
That's good. That shows that you enjoy your
Yeah.
job and what you do.
Yeah.
Are you able to share like what tech stack you use for front end and back end, like while working on the dashboard and different projects at Amazon?
For the front end, we did use React, and that was really good because for the apprenticeship, when I was getting started, like submitting my application, they did go ahead and give us some modules to go through to learn. We also had to learn Java. So to be able to use some of those things while I was working, it fit right in.
And then like the dashboard that you created, is that something? So it was a dashboard for a ticketing system. So that's something that more so like you guys are going to
Hmm.
use internally, right? Between like the
Yeah,
engineering
yeah,
team. Okay, great.
yeah. It's internal. Yeah.
Nice. It seems like that's like a common theme, I think. Like you're the second or third like apprentice grad I'm just making an observation here. Like you're the second or third
Mm-hmm.
apprentice grad that I've interviewed where like their initial project was like working on something that internally the team would see or work on or benefit
Mm.
them, not necessarily something that like the end user is gonna like
Customer.
experience and
Yeah.
a customer would interact with. But
Right.
I think that's great. It's a great experience for you all to have,
Yeah.
and it's still adding value to the company. So I think that's good
Mm-hmm.
experience that you got. What would you say? Was there anything in particular that you felt like was like most challenging? Like I know you mentioned React and learning JavaScript and Java during the apprentice program, but was there anything during your apprenticeship time that you felt like, hey, this was like really challenging and made me stretch and grow and learn new things?
Creating the API was very challenging for me. Because when I started, I honestly didn't know like what I was doing at all. And so come into a space and they're like, okay, well, I want you to do this, pick up a task to create this API, and you're like, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm gonna try, right? I'm gonna try my best. And so what helped me out is just being able to ask for help. And sometimes I know that I could struggle with that, right? It's like you want to feel like you can do everything on your own. It's like you want to feel like when someone asks you to do a task, you're like, I got this, I can do it. Um, but it's okay to ask for help. And so I definitely asked for help a lot in the beginning. It's kind of like, how do I get started? What should I use? And so I had to feel comfortable asking for help. And then once I got through that, I was able to pick up those skills really fast.
That's a good point. I think I don't know if it's pride, ego, or just you don't want people to feel like you don't. Maybe we expect people. Maybe we anticipate that other people's expectation of us is that we should already know X, Y, Z.
Already know it exactly.
And so it's like,
Exactly.
man, if I ask, like, they're gonna realize, like, yo, why are you here? Like, you should know this already.
Exactly, exactly. That goes through my head a lot. And so you have to realize like, and sometimes they forget that you don't know, right? Because they a lot of times, because you was like your senior engineers or engineers that have a lot of experience, they forget that you don't know these things. So they're talking and they're telling you stuff, and sometimes you just have to stop them and let them know like, I don't know what that is. Like, could you please explain? And it's okay because then they'll go ahead and explain. They'll send you some links. They'll send you some articles for you to review and get stuff together. And sometimes it's also like finding the balance because you don't want to always have to ask for help, right? You want to make sure that if the problem arises, you want to try to figure it out first. And then if you continue to get stuck, then you can ask for help. But it also shows that you're taking that step to get it figured out on your own.
I think that's a big one that a lot of times people overlook. Like, and I think sometimes we see people on the two extremes. Like, one extreme is never asking for help. You're struggling,
Hmm.
like drowning and fighting for dear life. And then on the other end is people that
Yeah,
like ask a bunch of questions, but they may not do any legwork and take ownership on their
exactly.
part at all. So I definitely think it's like a mix.
Exactly.
So I think that's a good. I'm glad you mentioned that because I think you can get pretty far in life if you try to figure out a few things and then you come to the table with what you've tried and what worked, what you
Exactly.
learned, and I think people will be far more willing to help you out. Since we're kind of talking about your role, and I think a lot of people that are interested in tech careers, there's a lot of like hype and traction around it, and like it's real sexy right now, right? Like everybody's trying to
Mhm.
get into tech. Like
Mhm.
everybody and their mama, grandmamas and everybody asking, like, am I too old to get into tech? Just to kind of add like some more transparency and kind of like do the good and the bad. What would you say is like the best and the worst
Mm.
part of your role or your time as like a software engineering apprentice?
Okay, I guess I could start off with like the worst. The worst part about it is when I feel blocked or when I get blocked. And that could mean like, there's a bug somewhere or I'm getting some unexpected outputs or there's like an issue and I just don't know where that issue is coming from. Because what happens for me personally is that I get stuck into this cycle where I consistently think about the problem until it's solved. So even if I'm like off work, I'm like, oh my gosh, I still didn't get that issue solved. I need to start, like, I'm still thinking about it. And so, how I cope with that is like taking my wins as I get them, right? So, if it's almost the end of the day and I'm able to like solve a problem or, get raise a CR or something, I take my win and I stop for the day. Like, that's it. Because I don't want to take any problems like home with me, right? And then like the best part about it is that I love just doing what I do, solving problems as a software engineer is just it's really exciting for me. And so I tell people all the time, like, don't get in it just for the money. because you can get burnt out really quick. At least be interested in it. And I just love solving problems.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I mean, there's good and bad with each and every role, and I think people need a full view of like what to expect. I
Mhm.
think that's a good point
Mhm.
where it's like you love solving problems and it's like a puzzle or something for you, but
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
thing can kind of linger in the back of your head, like, man, I'm gonna figure this thing out. And, you go into bed,
Yeah. I'm
and
like
right
in
when
the
you,
shower, right? In the shower, I'm going to sleep thinking about it. I'll wake, like, literally, I'll wake up like, oh God, like, how, like, like, it's literally like that. Going to sleep, waking up, it's crazy. But it's exciting because then once you get it solved, you're like, yes. Like, I'd be at work typing on my computer and I'm like, yes. And everybody's looking at me. I'm like, I'm sorry. Because it's fun. Like, for me, it's exciting. So.
yeah,
I
no,
I
that's good.
definitely recommend anyone that's like interested to get started, right? Get started if you're interested in it. Just get started, but don't do it just for the money.
Gotcha. What made you interested in like pursuing software engineering?
So initially I wanted to be a lawyer. As far as like undergrad, I didn't want to take like the traditional like path doing like pre-law or anything like that. So I wanted to do something that I was like interested in at the time. And I was really good at math. And so I thought engineering might be a good field for me because I really love doing math. And then I thought computer engineering because, it has computers. And I'm like, I like seeing like when I'd watch TV or any like see activities and I see people like on their computer coding, creating programs, websites, things like that, it just seemed really interesting to me. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and try computer engineering. But then they said 5 years in school, and I was like, I don't think I want to do that. So I switched to computer science because I didn't want to do the 5 years, and I wasn't interested in the hardware part of it. I was more so interested in the software part of it, so like creating websites and things like that. So yeah, that's what got me interested. And then like the money as well, like I knew that you do make a lot of money, and I figured, well, I needed to pay for law school some way. So I'm like, all right, I think this is the one. So yeah, that's
All right, cool. So it happened to check a lot of boxes for you in terms of
yeah,
like salary, amount of education, and then even
yeah.
preparing you for law school. I'm gonna ask you about the money in a minute, but are you still? So I saw you completed your computer science degree at Florida State University.
Mhm.
Are you still thinking
Mhm.
about in the back of your mind maybe becoming a lawyer at some point, or
No, no. Like
the ship
once
has
I
sailed?
started, like it has failed. Once I got into like the workforce, I didn't want to continue going to school. I was like, no, I think this is it. Like I'm just gonna stay right here. Yeah. So I just stayed.
I can understand that, and to be honest, it would be pretty hard to give up a decent salary to go back to
Mhm.
school and go through the stress and the headache of that,
Exactly.
and then everything
Exactly.
else. Since you mentioned salary, I know that's like a big motivating factor for why some people go into tech or pursuing tech. It's like, hey, inflation is high, interest rates are high, taxes, everything is high. So it's like, hey, I need
Okay.
more money, more salary. Like, what is like a typical, or maybe even in your own personal experience, what's like a typical like pay range that people can expect, like maybe as a software engineering apprentice?
As a software engineering apprentice, you can expect, I would say, at least six figures, like low six-figure range. So yeah, I hope that's a good. I hope
Tell
that's
me
a
how much
good
money you
like.
make. Nah, I'm joking with you. No, that's
I
a
would say
good.
no more than 140. So it's like, yeah,
Okay. All right. No, I think
yeah,
that's a like it's a good enough
that's a good
starting
range.
point for people to like
Yeah,
get an idea of ballpark. And I
yeah.
always recommend that people like look online. You can find a lot of salary information online.
I feel like, sorry, as an apprentice, I feel like that's like really good. As an apprentice. Like you don't really see apprentice like a lot of apprenticeship with that salary range. And so like when I was when I started, I was like, are y'all for real? Like really? Like I couldn't believe it really because you just don't see it.
Yeah, for an apprentice, that is actually really good because I've done some recruiting for
Mhm.
software engineers, and they were looking to pay with 3 years experience on the high end. They were wanting to pay like 160, and on the low end around 100. So, and these ranges can be wide, and they vary depending on the company. This was like
Mhm.
for a tech startup. But I think that's a great like starting point for an apprentice because
Mhm.
again, you're coming in with not much experience. You may not even know
Exactly.
how to code like coming into the
Exactly.
program. So it's like to go from zero on the experience level, but to get six figures on the salary, like that's amazing. Tech is one of the few instances where this can happen, where it's like, hey, you may not
Mhm.
have the most experience in the world, but you're getting a really great salary. I'm really curious. You went through, and this your salary may actually be particular to your, and that's fine. Like I know you got. What's your dog's name, by the way? I know you got
Shaggy. Oh my gosh.
Shaggy.
He's Shaggy.
All right, nah, I know Shaggy in the background. Like, yo, wait, let me get on the camera. No, you good. You're good.
Literally, I'm like, what?
So the salary may be particular to your apprenticeship program that you went through, which was OnRamp.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of people are
Mhm.
looking for apprenticeship programs. Can you kind of tell us about the apprenticeship program you went through with OnRamp?
So the entire process from when like I submitted my application to when I received an offer from Amazon was about a month and a half. And so like the entire process was really interesting. I've never been through a process like that. But it was exciting. I really love OnRamp. Oh wait, before I go ahead and get into that, I just want to say that like the apprenticeship is with Amazon. So it's not like with OnRamp, it's with Amazon, but we go through OnRamp for the apprenticeship, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
So submit your application, do your assessment. You go through a first interview round. Can't really go too much into like the questions that they ask, but it's like, maybe like a communication interview or like a soft skills interview in a way. And then we also had like a technical interview, and then we had a project to complete. So, you go through those rounds, and then you have an interview with Amazon. And that was just like, it was a really exciting process. A month and a half, I don't think that was too long. And then by the end of that, I received an offer from Amazon.
On a technical interview, like, do you have to know how to code at that point, or is it more like a logics and reasoning kind of like problem solving mindset kind of interview?
Yeah, like problem solving mindset. They just want to honestly like they prepare you for everything, right? And that's another part of it that I really appreciated, because they're like, okay, make sure you go through these, make sure you know these things, understand all of these. They give us videos to watch, modules to go through. So it was just, they didn't leave you stranded, right? And not like, oh, you got to interview, just know everything. It's not like that. They're like, know these things, right? So they prepare you well for that interview. Well, yeah, for the technical interview. I don't know how to really prepare. I don't know if they could really prepare you for like a soft skills interview, a communication interview. You can't really do that much, but they definitely prepare you for the technical interview.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
And so for the technical interview, it's not like coding based, right? It's just like problem solving, or is
yeah.
it? Okay. And then, but you do have like a coding project, and I'm assuming like they give you like learning modules to learn how to code or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, yeah. And that was
Okay.
that was actually a really fun project. Like I was excited to do it. I was on vacation. I was in Costa Rica, and then it's funny because I was coming back from the airport, and I was literally like, I was with my boyfriend, and he had the suitcase. I'm in the airport line with my computer on my hand, like typing with. He's holding the suitcase. I'm literally going through TSA typing, and then it was fun because it was it was an exciting project for me. And so every chance that I got, I was like working on it. Because I think we had like like a deadline, obviously. But it was fun. It was really fun.
So about a month and a half from when you applied to when you were accepted, and then you also had the interview with the
Mhm.
client, Amazon. So
Mhm.
about a month and a half between there. Once you got accepted into the program, I'm assuming like then you had to do like some additional training, right, to like improve because y'all are learning. You were using React at Amazon, and you had to learn like Java as well. So is that once you got accepted, then you had to like learn a bunch of different languages? Is that kind of how it worked?
Yeah. So once you got accepted, we spent some time with OnRamp, doing like training and stuff like that. So that's where we learned a lot of the day to day, what it's like to be a software engineer. Like if you didn't have that experience before, you had that experience at that time.
So like how much of your
Hmm.
time per week is like training? How much is like solving or working on the dashboard? Like once you get hired in, can you kind of explain that part?
Yeah, so I don't so yeah, so once when I'm working with OnRamp, I'm just doing OnRamp. So like I can still join my team meetings with Amazon and things like that, but I don't have to because right now I'm with OnRamp, right? Um And then once I'm done with OnRamp, then I just kind of just transition in with my with my team. Um, so it's a bit confusing to like try to do it at the same time, but like most of the time it's spent with OnRamp while I'm training with them. And then I could take a couple hours per day maybe doing some onboarding with Amazon, I guess you would say.
Okay, gotcha. And so, like,
You're right.
like for clarification, like for the
Mhm.
dashboard, for example, that you worked
Mhm.
on, like, is
Mhm.
that when did you start working on that project? Was it like once you
Once
kind
I
of
was
finished
done
the
with
training?
OnRamp.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
long did it
So
take to
once I
like
was
finish
done.
the on ramp part?
So it was about 2 months.
About 2 months. Okay.
Yeah, it was about 2 months. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Cool.
So
All right. No,
it's oh, go ahead.
no. I was gonna say. I think I got you now. So like 1.5 months, complete the application. You're an Amazon employee, but for about two
Mhm.
months, your on ramp is really heavily involved with like training you and everything like
Mhm.
that. But you're
Mhm.
still working with Amazon as well, like getting acclimated to the
Mhm.
team, going to meetings, things of that
Yep.
nature. At the end of that two
Exactly.
month mark, once you're kind of done with all the on ramp training, you're like pretty much 100% of your time or majority of your time is
Yep.
now spent at Amazon. I'm assuming you still do like some stuff with
Exactly.
OnRamp every once in a while though, like or like checking in to see,
Um
make sure things are going good.
Yeah, so we do check-ins and things like that. They check in on us, how are we doing? Yeah, and like it was heavy in the beginning, but as time go on and we're getting acclimated with our team at Amazon, um, yeah, it kind of dwindled off. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Hey, so I'm assuming. Well, I don't even have to assume that much. I know I made like a YouTube video when it may not have been the one you're in, but like anytime I find like a tech apprenticeship program, I'll make like a YouTube
Mhm.
video promoting it so people can
Mhm.
like be aware of it and things of that nature. And I noticed that they're highly competitive. A lot of people look out for them, apply for them. Because it's a very unique
Yeah.
opportunity where you can like basically get paid to learn. So,
Mhm.
what advice would you have for others who are like interested in applying to a tech apprenticeship program, hoping that they get accepted, anything of that nature, what advice would you give for them for like how to improve their chances of hopefully getting accepted into one of these programs?
Yeah, of course. So I think one of the main things and one of the things that we tend to overlook sometimes is our soft skills. So especially with an apprentice program, right? They know that you might not have as much experience. So you might be interested in programming, you might know a language, but it's really important to improve on your soft skills as well because during the apprenticeship, they can teach you how to code, they can teach you different tech stacks, they can teach you like the processes, but they can't really teach you those soft skills, right? They can't teach you how to communicate. They can't teach you how to learn and be curious. So that's some advice that I would usually give. Always seek to learn and improve yourself, um, and then also being biased for action. So if something needs to be done, like you're biased for action, like you will get it done. I think that's something that usually gets overlooked because we know you can learn how to code, but those soft skills are also important because they look for those. Like some, that's why a lot of times when you have interviews, it's not just a technical interview. You also have those communication interviews as well.
That's a great point. People learn how to code on their own, right? Like they'll lock
Exactly.
themselves in their basement or in their bedroom and figure their
Exactly.
stuff out. Go to freecodecamp.org, Code Academy, you name it,
You can
and
learn that
figure it out.
anytime. Yeah.
Yeah, but being able to work on a team and communicate effectively is
Exactly.
very important. How do you improve those soft skills? Like, is there anything that you've kind of done? I know you've had like a number of internships and things like that. So this wasn't exactly like your first
Yeah.
time working in corporate
Mhm.
America. I think I saw you worked at like Lockheed Martin for an internship. I think you worked at
Mhm.
Apple too at some point.
Yeah.
Like, is that how you built your soft skills over time?
Yeah. I definitely have had a lot of customer service jobs as well. So just like knowing how to speak to people, that definitely helped. And like I mentioned earlier, I used to have, that issue with like asking for help. And that's also something very important. So in a way, it was trained myself to ask for help. So if I'm, having an issue, don't let, like you mentioned earlier, it's ego, right? You're like, nah, I don't want them to think maybe I'm stupid or I don't know how to do something. So you definitely want to train yourself, like pick up on those things as it doesn't matter what job you're at, right? You need to learn how to communicate. So pick up on those skills, see where you're lacking, and try to improve that way. Yeah.
I think that shows that like there's value in those customer service,
Mhm.
like people facing jobs. A
Yes.
lot of times we discount, especially like that's like the
Uh
typical
huh.
entry level job, right? My first job was working at
Yeah.
McDonald's. I hated it, and then like working in
Yeah.
the mall after that. But it shows that like being able to deal with people and customers, especially if they rude, like you don't
Mhm.
like it, but that's a
Yeah.
very valuable skill that you can have. So uh,
Exactly.
I
Because it
think
comes
that
in handy. Yeah.
I'm curious. Your perspective is probably a little different because you have a computer science background.
Mhm.
So you probably may have taken like algorithms courses and data structures and algorithm courses in college and things like that. But how well prepared do you feel like your computer science background made you for this tech apprenticeship program?
That's a very good question. That's a very good question. And like sometimes it's crazy because depending on the company that you're in and like the team that you're in as well, you might not focus a lot on data structures and algorithms, just depending on what you're doing. So I think for me, um, I'd say in theory, school prepared me well, but then when it came to actually working, and being like, um I guess the day-to-day life, I wasn't that prepared. And like it was the internships that prepared me more. It's having the previous experience that prepared me more. Like I think on paper school might prepare you, um but actually getting that experience, my previous experience prepared me more than being in school. So I think what OnRamp is doing is really good because it's kind of like bypassing that traditional way of being a software engineer. Now you're able to maybe go through a boot camp, learn, pick up some skills there, and they're like, okay, just learn a little and then we'll take over from there, right? We'll help you with the rest. And I think that's extremely important. I love what they are doing, because it creates a path for me and for other people like me, especially people that are not did not go the traditional route to be able to get opportunities that's like life changing, really.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I think I've heard similar stories and experiences in terms of like they felt like college gave you all the theoretical knowledge, but not necessarily like the practical knowledge. So I think it's
Mhm.
good that now, given your experience, you have both, right? Like where you
Yeah.
learn the theory and everything
Yeah.
in college, but hey, you gotten your hands dirty and worked in the code and everything like that. So that's a
Mhm.
good knowledge and experience to have. When you were in
Yeah.
college, did they teach you how to code in college, or was it just purely like more so theoretical? And if they did teach you, like what
Oh no.
language did you learn?
They teach you how to code. They do. So when I got started, the first coding language that I actually learned was C++. Honestly, I feel like your first programming teacher can be like make it or break it for you, right? Because if you have a great professor, and everything's going good, you're like, I really love this, I enjoy it, I want to continue doing it, and that's how it was for me. But then you have other people that's had other professors, and they're like, no, I hate this, I don't want to continue. I've had friends that left computer science, and went and switched their majors to something else because they just didn't have a good professor, right? And it kind of just gave them a bad um, introduction to computer science. But I had a good professor and I loved it, and I was like, I have to continue. I'm gonna keep going. So C++ is what I started with, and I feel like the programming languages they're similar, right? The syntax might be a little different, but
Hmm.
they're all very similar. And so once you know like the fundamentals, you're good. Like you could pick up a language as you could pick up anything as you go. Like I've learned so much. Like I learned Java, and then like I mentioned when I was doing back end, it was more Kotlin than anything, but they're really similar. And so I was just able to switch from one to the other.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
I'm curious then on your thoughts. It was a number of you guys that went through
Yeah.
the apprenticeship program together. You all may have had different backgrounds.
Mhm.
For
Yes.
Yeah, so for I guess can you speak about that? Like, did some of your cohort members not have any coding experience, and then how well prepared did they feel for
Yeah.
the job based on the on-ramp training?
Yeah, I don't think they had no experience. I think some people either did like a boot camp or they learned to program on their own. So they all like had interest and they all like, did something, right? They like I said, either it's boot camp or programming on their own, doing projects. Some had other degrees. Some were in finance, I think chemical engineering. Some people don't have degrees either, right? So it was really diverse. It was a diverse cohort that I had. So it's for every and anyone.
Is there like not a consensus, but like what have you kind of heard from some of the other cohort members in terms of like how well prepared you all felt for the job based on like the training that you got from OnRamp? Like, did you feel like okay, 2 months was cool, but maybe an extra month and a half would have been like perfect, or was it like yo, I'm completely lost, like I don't know what the hell I'm doing? Like,
I
what was
think
kind of the
I think OnRamp prepared us well. Like, let me say that I think they really prepared us well. Especially depending on which team you go to. So, like for example, like we learned a lot of React there, and like I said, I use React for my project. So I'm like, okay, I got this. I could do when they're like the dashboard. I'm like, okay, I got this. Like, I could do that. But then for the back end, I was like, I don't know, I don't know. So it's like, it's a balance, honestly. Like they can't prepare you for everything, but they definitely prepared us for a lot. And I think it's the same thing with the other cohorts as well, because we do have like our group meetings and we talk about. It's not always easy. Sometimes it's a bit stressful, and you have to. It's a lot of learning. And so if you're not willing to learn, um, you have to be willing to learn, but it's interesting because like you get to improve your skills. Oh no, I was gonna say I think they did a really great job at getting a diverse pool of individuals for my cohort, honestly.
those are all great points. Like I think sometimes we have the mindset like I went to college, I learned what I need to learn. Now I'm just gonna do the job, and then I'm
Uh-huh.
set for life. Whereas in
Uh-huh.
this tech software engineering role, or even engineering in general, like it's a continuous learning is a continuous process
Exactly.
and it never ends. Regardless of if you go through OnRamp or some other apprenticeship program or a boot camp or whatever, like
Mm-hmm.
there's only so much that you can learn in that finite amount of
Exactly.
time, right?
Exactly.
And so like things are gonna be coming up. You're gonna have to learn new languages. So like you said, it's important that you have that mindset of being open and willing to learn. And so the follow-up question I wanted to ask you is if somebody's starting from scratch and they have the
Mm-hmm.
option to take this red pill and not go to college or and just learn coding on their own or apply to an apprenticeship program straight out of high school or wherever they are at in life or take this blue pill and go to a four-year university and take a computer science major, which route would you recommend if you had like these two options?
That's a very good question.
And
Ooh.
let's kind of
Hmm.
let's take money out of the equation
Take money out of it.
to make it more
Okay.
simple. Like it's not a question of like loans or whatever. It's just purely a question of like expected outcomes. Like the expected outcome of going to a four-year university, majoring in computer science, and going
Mm-hmm.
that route,
Oh.
or nah, you're good. What's up,
I think
Shaggy?
Shaggy wants to answer. He's like, I know the answer to that one.
So you can make a phone call to Shaggy, talk it over to Shaggy if you want. But what would you recommend?
There's so many different. Oh my God, that's a hard question because sometimes I'm kind of like, honestly, sometimes I'm like, the boot camp route, like just go in, learn how to code, and then see if I can gain, get an apprenticeship, gain some experience that way, um, because student loans is expensive. Okay. But then I also actually I liked that I went to school. I liked that I got that I like that I had that experience to learn data structures and algorithms, and in that way I like that I was able to get the internship experience because I was in school. But honestly, if it wasn't paid for, I would definitely go the boot camp route because I don't think the cost is worth it, right? Like the cost is worth it. So I definitely, because you can learn everything that I learned in school on your own, and also through boot camp. So I definitely go that route.
I can respect
So
that.
that's the red pill, right? The
Yeah.
red pill. That was the red pill. Okay, I guess I'm going red.
No, and I can respect that a lot. I think you definitely learn a lot about yourself going from college. It's a
Mhm.
really great experience, and it's like a once in a lifetime thing. But
Exactly.
finances don't really make it accessible, and it's not an option for
Mhm.
everybody. So I can
Exactly.
definitely respect your decision there and your input. So I mean, I think it's kind of I think it is what you make out of it, right? Like if you go to
Mhm.
college and you're heavily involved with like student orgs and
Exactly.
internships and everything, then like your expected outcome is like a lot different from somebody who just goes to college, just racks up a bunch of debt and not involved with
Mhm.
anything, doesn't connect and network, and doesn't get any internships. Like if you're gonna do that, like definitely just do the boot camp.
Just
Like
do the
because
boot camp
basically at
right.
that point you're just going to like a 4 year party and it's like the most expensive party ever.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
um,
Like take advantage. I always tell people take advantage of the opportunities that you have at school, especially if it's getting paid for. Like you have your career fairs, you have your career center, like all of that is being paid for through your tuition. Like take advantage of every and anything there. And that way you make the best out of it. So like, don't be discouraged if you're in school right now and you're going through that. Just take advantage of all the opportunities and don't be discouraged either if you're doing a boot camp because you feel like you couldn't go to school. Like you're not missing out. It's okay. It's okay.
or well, let me ask you this question, a quick follow up. Like, um, I know you mentioned like the soft skills and the importance of that when
Mhm.
applying to these different programs. What do you
Mhm.
think it was that kind of separated you from the competition, and why OnRamp may have selected you over somebody else for the program?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think a part of my application as well, you had to submit like an essay. I can't remember the exact prompt, but I think that, definitely separated me from, I guess, some of the other candidates because it was heavily involved in like, it was like personal, it was like a personal essay. And so writing about like maybe my experience and my background, or like my life, I talked about a little bit about my life, growing up. So I think that definitely separated me. And then I definitely had like maybe my internship experience on there. So I think that had definitely helped me as well. I wouldn't say I don't know if having a degree separated me because like I said, it was a diverse pool. Like some people didn't have degrees, some people had degrees in finance. I don't think that necessarily was like the golden ticket. So yeah, I think it's just being me, really. I definitely encourage like anyone, like if you're interested in to get into it, don't let anything stop you. Like I'm here, you can be here too. If I can do it, you can do it. We all can do it. Like get into it. If you're interested, just do it. Just do it. There's nothing to wait for. Just do it.
And then I got one more question for you before we wrap up. There's like I don't know how many different coding languages out there for somebody who's just getting started and interested in tech, specifically interested in being a software engineer. What
Hmm.
coding language would you recommend for both like front end and back end?
I would say I feel like a lot of people go with Python, because it's like easy to learn. But honestly, I would go with Java. That's what I would go with. If you start with Java, a lot of backend uses like maybe uses Java, especially with what I do, and then you can easily learn like JavaScript from there to use on the front end.
All right, dope. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Brisan. Look, I want to give you the opportunity. Like, is there anything that you feel like missed out on, or any last comment that you wanted
Yeah,
to
for
add, or anything like
sure.
that?
An advice that I would like to give anybody out there listening is to just like honestly not give up. Like I've applied to Amazon before, and it didn't work out the first time. And I was able to take advantage of this apprenticeship opportunity here and make that work for me. And that happened because I kept improving my skills, both my soft skills and my technical skills. So don't be discouraged if you get denied from somewhere the first time. Like just keep improving, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So when the opportunity comes for you, you can take advantage of it. So yeah, just good luck.
Great advice. You definitely got to be persistent and dedicated to what you're doing. You never know when the opportunity is going to happen.
Yeah,
So, like you said, stay prepared.
exactly.
Stay down to get prepared. But
Yeah.
no, again, I appreciate you for coming on. Apprenticeship programs are probably at the top of the list in terms of like the requests and the inquiries that I get in terms of what job opportunities entry-level folks are looking for. So I appreciate you sharing your
Hmm.
insight and your experience in the OnRamp apprenticeship program with Amazon. And congratulations again on being placed. I look
Thank you.
forward to following your journey, seeing how things turn out for you. I know they're going to be amazing, but congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me here. And I appreciate what you're doing as well. Having a space, just to have your podcast, your YouTube, everything that you're doing to encourage people, to give them the opportunity that they might not have known otherwise exists. So keep doing what you're doing. I love it. I really do enjoy it.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, definitely. And then for you guys who are watching, I appreciate you all for watching and staying tuned. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure you definitely do that. And then also you can find us on social media at Custom Journeys, that's CUSTEM Journeys, JOURNEYS. I hope this interview helped you find your way and figure out what career path is right for you, and then also how to improve your chances of being accepted into a software engineering apprenticeship program. Stay tuned for the next episode dropping next week. I'll see you all soon. Peace.